Brampton's housing market went from one of the hottest in Canada to a full-on buyer's market in just 3 years. We're talking a peak price of 1.346 million in February 2022, down to under $942,000 by 2025. That's a 30% drop, nearly $400,000 wiped off the average home value. In this report, I'm breaking it all down. What drove the peak, why it crashed, where we are now, and what's coming in 2026. Let's get into it. Let me paint you a picture of early 2022. The Bank of Canada rate 0.25%, emergency lows, basically free money. Homes in Brampton were selling in under 2 weeks. Bidding wars on almost every listing. Sale prices were regularly coming in well above asking, sometimes 10, 15, even 20% over. And inventory, almost nothing on the market. The average home price hit 1.346 million in February 2022. That's the all-time peak. What was fueling it? Pandemic savings, record immigration into the GTA, investors piling in, and everyone had serious FOMO. Fear of missing out. It felt like prices would never stop climbing. And then everything changed. Here's what the price drop actually looks like on a chart. And it's pretty striking. From that $1.346 million peak in February 2022, prices have been on a steady slide ever since. By 2024, the average was down to just over 1 million, roughly a 25% drop from peak. By full year 2025, $942,000. That's a 30% decline. And by late 2025, the monthly average was sitting at $902,000, closer to a 33% drop from the top. In dollar terms, that's between $400,000 and $440,000 gone from the average home value. Now, is that bad news for everyone? Not if you're a buyer, because right now you have more power than you've had in over a decade. Let's go year by year so you can see exactly how this played out. 2022, the peak, record sales, almost zero inventory, bidding wars everywhere. The market was on fire. 2023, the rate shock hits. The Bank of Canada hiked aggressively and GTA sales crashed, down 47% compared to February 2022. Brampton followed the same pattern. The bidding war stopped almost overnight. 2024, a stabilization year, 4,572 sales. Prices settled around 1.1 million, slower but not collapsing. Buyers and sellers were both adjusting to the new normal of higher rates. 2025, renewed pressure. Sales dropped further to 3,180, down almost 13% from 2024. Listings jumped nearly 20% to over 14,000. Prices fell another 6.8%. The market is now firmly in buyer's territory, and that's where the opportunity is. So what actually caused this correction? Four things. Number one, interest rate shock. The Bank of Canada took rates from 0.25% all the way above 4%. That obliterated borrowing power. And with the mortgage stress test on top of that, thousands of buyers who could have qualified in 2021 simply could not anymore. Number two, affordability erosion. Inflation drove up the cost of everything: groceries, gas, utilities. People's budgets got squeezed, and Brampton, which had surged so high, just became out of reach for a lot of local incomes. Number three, policy changes. The federal foreign buyer ban cut off a major source of speculative demand, tighter lending rules followed, and lower foreign student numbers in 2024 and 2025 caused some investors to exit, flooding more supply into an already cooling market. Number four, psychology shift. This one is huge. FOMO flipped to fear. Buyers stopped rushing in and started waiting. Why buy today if it'll be cheaper tomorrow? That mindset kept demand suppressed and inventory climbing. All four hit at the same time. That's why the correction was this deep. This one is huge. FOMO flipped up to fear. Buyers stopped rushing in and started waiting. Why buy today if it'll be cheaper tomorrow? That mindset kept demand suppressed and inventory climbing. All four hit at the same time. That's why the correction was this deep. The sales and inventory numbers tell the clearest story of all. In 2022, we were at record high sales volumes. The market was absorbing everything that came on. By 2025, 3,980 sales. That's the lowest point of this entire cycle. And here's what makes 2025 a textbook buyer's market. While sales fell 12.9%, new listings actually shot up 19.6% into over 14,600 properties. More homes for sale, fewer buyers competing. That means longer days on market. That means sellers negotiating. That means you, as the buyer, can ask for price reductions, closing cost coverage, repairs, flexibility on dates, things that were absolutely unthinkable in 2022. If you've been sitting on the sidelines waiting for your moment, this is closer to it than anything we've seen in years. So, where is this market headed? Let's look at what the experts are saying. REMAX is projecting a modest plus 2% price increase and plus 4% sales growth in 2026. The buyer's market conditions will likely persist, but the free fall is over. Local Brampton analysts are more bullish. They're forecasting 5 to 6% annual price gains from 2026 all the way to 2030, supported by Bank of Canada rate cuts heading toward 2.5% and continued strong immigration. And both CMHC and KREA echo the same message. The correction phase is largely behind us. Population growth and easing rates will gradually bring buyers back off the sidelines. The consensus: the steep correction is over. 2026 brings stabilization, not a renewed crash. What does that mean for you? The window of maximum buyer leverage may be shorter than you think. Let me bring this all together with 5 things you need to remember. 1. Brampton peaked at 1.346 million in February 2022, driven by emergency low rates and pandemic era demand. 2. By late 2025, prices had fallen to 903K, 942K, a 30 to 33% drop, or roughly $400,000 to 440,000 off the peak. 3. Sales volumes hit a cycle low at 3,080 in 2025, while listings surged to over 14,600. That's your buyer's market signal. 4. The correction was driven by rate hikes, affordability pressure, policy changes, and a total psychology flip from FOMO to caution. 5. Forecasts for 2026 and beyond point to stabilization and modest recovery, meaning the best entry conditions for buyers may be right now. If you're buying, selling, or investing in Brampton, you need to understand this market, not just the headlines. I post market breakdowns like this every week. Follow, subscribe, and drop your questions in the comments. I answer everyone. See you in the next one.